This is fine. This is a poor substitute for therapy, but an excellent substitute for other podcasts.
We're not like other podcasts.
Join us as we find the answers to the universe's biggest questions like, is butter a carb? Does crying burn calories? And what the fuck am I doing with my life? We're here to be your part-time therapist, astrologer, concierge doctor, and fairy godmother. Do you need someone to validate you today? Cool. Come on in. We're fine. This is fine. Welcome back, lovers. It's been a minute and I have missed you and this so much. It's becoming a theme that I hibernate in the winter here in Paris and then reemerge in the springtime like a little cherry blossom. This feels on brand. I leave you with a gift guide for some holiday sparkle and then digitally Irish exit until the sun comes back. Anyway, random sidebar, but I feel like I should be starting these with sharing a perfume of the day with y'all. And today's is Fleur Narcotique from Ex Nihilo. Fresh, fruity, floral, light, airy, juicy, perfect for spring and summer. It's got some lychee, peony, peach, orange blossom, and musk. So that's the fragrance vibe today, and I feel like it really sets the tone for the rest of the episode. Also, speaking of being MIA for the past few months, as many of you have known from your own literal experience or our last astrology podcast with Shannon, the astrology of March was friggin' buck wild, and I think honestly we all barely survived, literally hanging on by a thread. So I hope you're doing okay. We're really coming out of it now. The double retrograde after Mars retrograde, the eclipses, the Pisces pile up. It's been a lot. We've got more updates on that coming soon from Shannon as well. So help is on the way, dear. But today we're feeling French. So I'm so honored to have the hosts of the Pardon Our French podcast here on the show today, Quincy and Justine. I met these beautiful, brilliant women through TikTok. Surprise, surprise. And I was recently on their show just last week, so I will link to that so you can have a listen. What I love so much about their podcast is that these girls really embody my favorite life principle of joie de vivre. Pardon Our French is designed, in their words, to motivate you to live your best life, romanticizing every day. And that literally is my entire vibe. And I just love them and their energy so much. I am so excited to have them on today to talk about their immigration experience, their life as American expats in Paris, and for you to have another POV that isn't mine when it comes to that Emily in Paris fantasy. They've also got some fun stories about dating in Paris, stories about going to balls at Versailles, some culture shocks, and what they do and don't miss about the US. Without further ado, let's get into it. All right, girly pops, welcome to This Is Fine. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So excited.
So exciting. We're doing like a real well-produced episode today. It's been a minute since we've had one of those in this show. I'm so stoked you're here. We start off every episode by doing a bit of a pulse check. Are you fine today? Is everything fine?
Sun is out. I'm good.
So real.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Eye
There's
twitches.
some things, but you know, the sun's out. Things could be worse.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, also real quick, so everyone gets to know your voices and they know who's speaking. Do you want to tell them your names just so they can start to identify?
Yes, I'm Justine and I'm Quincy.
Heck yeah. So today was a really audacious day for us to record. We are just hours after the moment of the eclipse in Aries. It is still Mercury retrograde. It is still Venus retrograde. And all of us are really feeling it deeply, spiritually. This is fine. So honestly, very on brand for the show today. Like, this is fine. Everything's fine. So on that note, today might be a little chaotic, and I think that's the vibe of the episode.
Embrace the chaos.
Yeah. Embrace the chaos. I love that your show also brings about a little bit of like the chaos, but also the fun of living here in Paris, which is exactly what we're going to talk about today. I'd love for you to share your story with our listeners, our community, about how you got here, how you met each other, and how you made Pardon Our French.
Yes, absolutely. I'll let Quincy go first. She's been here longer. My little badge of honor. Yeah, I moved here just before COVID. I was coming for a junior year abroad, and I think with so many people that you meet here, and you hear their Paris story, it's kind of like, oh, I was coming for a year abroad, or I was coming here for a year, and now it's been 6 for me. You know? So that's sort of how it happened for me. I was honestly lucky, given the circumstances with COVID. I was able to finish my degree online. And so I stayed in Paris, finished my bachelor's degree from here, did my master's here. I'm working here now. It all really worked out for me, which I feel very thankful for. And I still feel like I just moved here in terms of how much I love the city and love the culture. And Justine and I met then, what now, 4 years ago?
Yeah.
That's crazy. On TikTok?
We met on TikTok.
Hell yeah, brother.
Which is like crazy too, because back at the time it was like the dancey TikTok.
Yeah. Were you guys dancing?
No.
No, I was a ballerina. I was not born to dance on TikTok.
We haven't talked about this. I started taking grown-up ballet lessons. We need to get into this off mic.
We really do.
That just like lit me up inside.
I was literally thinking about this recently because I need to like rehab my knees, and ballet had my legs in the shape of
peak form.
Yeah. So I'm like, I need to do that again.
Oh my God, same. But like not again, just for the first time.
Yeah. So I'm very like, I love the city, and I think that there are so many things to appreciate about the city. And one of the things that our podcast addresses, which is why we kind of wanted to make it, was, you know, the fact that the city is amazing and incredible and our life here is great does not mean that there aren't hard moments. Does not mean that life here takes a certain level of grit and perseverance. And so that's definitely something that we connected on when we met.
Yeah.
And that was sort of our impetus for making Pardon Our French.
Yeah. Every time we go back to the US, people are like, oh my God, you live in Paris. Your life is perfect. And it's like,
sometimes I just say,
it really is. But also,
And Justine and I met in person for the first time in the midst of a COVID lockdown. There was nothing open. We met in Place des Vosges, got takeaway coffees.
Oh, wow.
And just sat on like a cold bench.
Yeah. That's kind of how we met Justine. Like sitting on that cold bench. Yeah. It was in
like
Jardin Palais Royal. Yeah. Same vibe.
That's so funny. And we both got iced coffees.
Yeah.
This place did not offer iced coffees. Otherwise, maybe I would have gotten one. Who knows?
The California trumps over the weather.
Yeah, truly. So I've been here for 4 years. I met Quincy like very early on my arrival. And my coming over story is a little bit different. My parents are both French, so originally from Lyon, and all of my family lives in France. So I spent many, many, many summers over here.
She's cooler than all of us.
It's so funny because everybody was like, "Oh, boo, you're going to Paris to France for your summer," and I was like, "No, but I feel like I'm missing out on the summer fun."
Yeah, you got FOMO. You really did.
And I visited Paris for the first time with my grandma and my grandpa, who brought me over, and I thought it was like such a cool city, and I was like, I need more of this. And so from that moment on, I was like, I'm going to do like university in Paris. Like I know that I'll be in Paris at some point. University happened, did not go to Paris, moved to SoCal, which felt a little less intimidating at the time.
I feel that.
Originally from Northern California. And when COVID hit, I was in like my second year of working post-grad. And I was like, you know what? I had just gone out of like a terrible relationship, like felt free for the first time in my life. And I was like, nothing is stopping me. It's COVID. It's like I lost my job. There's nothing else to do right now but move to Paris. And so,
as one does.
Yes. I was like, what's the excuse that I could put like around this big move? And so I was like, well, I'll just do my MBA there.
Okay.
Told my parents like, yeah, it's a, a year and a half program. Like, who knows? And
shout out to education.
Truly.
This episode is brought to you by education.
So funny.
Big education.
Big education. I was like, yeah, like the master's just like a thing,
Yeah.
The main thing is that I'm living in Paris.
Yeah.
And when I moved, I was like, yeah, I think this is for me. I feel like when you're dual citizen or just like, first gen American, a lot of people that I've met who have similar experiences always feel I'm too this to be there or that to be here. And it's very present still. Like, and now that I'm in Paris, I feel way more like too American to be French.
Okay.
But it's
like a dual identity crisis.
It's also like so interesting with your family because your parents did the opposite of you.
Yes.
And now you're reversing.
Yeah.
You're reversing that.
My parents were like, well, we ran away from our parents and now are you running away from us? And I was like, more so just like more the United States of America. And I knew that they were always going to retire back in France because they missed it so much and their goal was not to stay in California for this long.
Right.
So I was like, well, I'll just get a head start.
Yeah.
Because, why
I'll
would
see
I
you over there.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll just prime the environment for you.
Yeah. Now I'm like, when is it going to be?
Yeah.
Do you need me to look at some houses for you?
I'm literally trying to my mom over here as well. Just draw her over here. I'm like, oh, the food's really good.
Yeah. Everything's better.
Yeah. Honestly, I do feel like virtually every facet of my life did get better when I moved here. Do you guys feel that way too?
100%.
100%.
And I think that's what just solidified the move was like the best choice ever.
Yeah.
It's like, I was like, oh, okay, like I actually belong here.
Yes.
And I feel maybe too American to be French, but it's like better than feeling too French to be American. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like there's...
I too feel too American to be French.
Yeah.
As much as I would like to assimilate more. But yeah, I think we've talked about this.
Yeah.
We're way too much color and smile too much to even come close to masquerading.
But do you guys both
smiling
feel
was hard
more
for me,
like too French to be American now when you go back to the US?
I
Does that
wouldn't say
kinda-
like specifically French, but I don't necessarily super identify with an American.
I think that's the thing for me. Like I'm talking to my siblings or something on the phone and I'm like, oh, well, you guys, like referring to like Americans. And I just don't put myself in that category anymore.
Yeah.
Not saying that I put myself in the French category.
Right.
But I'm just like, I refer to it as a separate entity that I'm not really a part of anymore.
Yeah. It's like
It's interesting how that just kind of happened.
culturally ambiguous
time.
at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's funny. Like I remember getting off the plane. I remember as if it was so long ago. This was 2 weeks ago. Like, back in the day when I got off the plane. Yeah. Like 2 weeks ago, I got off at LAX and I remember like looking up and being like, oh yeah, those are the Americans.
Yeah.
It's just a totally different vibe. And it's not a bad thing. It's nothing is like morally good or bad in the situation. It's just a totally distinctly different vibe that I don't feel like I necessarily click into. Yeah. So that's been pretty interesting to grapple with, like losing that. And I'm sure you have as well, and both of you actually, been thinking like dual identity. And then for us, like losing the origin identity almost and grappling with that and like home not feeling like home anymore.
Yeah.
That's been a weird thing I've been. Yeah, right? And both of you had like an impetus to come here. I mean, you manufactured one as well. I just realized as you guys were saying that, I'm like, oh yeah, I just like bopped over here.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. People are like, when did you move to France for? And I'm like, I don't know, look at it. Like,
But I feel like the universe like built a bridge just for you.
That's so true.
They're
golden brick road.
Let me just lay down every slat.
Yeah, speaking of being like just being like drawn into this country. I love that we all got here in a different way and then somehow found each other again through TikTok, which I talk about way too much on this podcast in life. But like I swear I'm not like a pro bono publicist for TikTok.
I don't know. When the ban was gonna happen, I was getting super emotional because I have made pretty much every relationship I have in Paris via TikTok.
Yes. Everything that has happened to me in this country has come through TikTok and this podcast.
Yeah.
Like
so cool.
I've met people. It's introduced me to opportunities.
Yeah.
And you need that here because it's not always the most open environment.
And not even just as an American, as just anyone. Like even French people who come from different parts of France feel super alienated.
Yeah. I think that probably happens in a lot of big cities too.
For sure.
Cities, even the most open ones, I think can be a bit like closed off almost.
Yeah.
I will say here, I do feel more connected to people around me. And that could be the whole dog thing that we've talked about off mic. But even just like sharing space with people more often versus when I was in California, and I don't know if it was the same in Boston, like being in a car all the time and having to like plan when to get together versus sending a group chat text and being like, anyone want to get apero right now? And 5 people show up.
Yeah.
It's just like so much more like connected, shared environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I felt that. So I moved from New York. That was where I was doing my bachelor's. And so I definitely like felt similarly there about like, I love the interaction with people. I definitely miss some of that level of interaction with people because there's a bit less of it here. It's much
no
more
American explosiveness.
Yeah, exactly. So like sometimes that's nice and, but we find our ways to kind of try to inspire that in people. Force that upon people. I'm going to talk to the girl at my Pilates class,
Yeah, totally.
Be like, hey, have you been coming to this class for a while? Like, what's the vibe?
Do they look at you like you're crazy or do they respond nicely?
People, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
But some of them feel like I've opened up this wonderful gate because they're like, oh, no one has ever spoken to me.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is not so bad.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh my God, human interaction with a stranger. It's so cool.
So it's kind of, you know.
Yeah.
When they approach me, I feel so, and by they, I mean French people, the others, I feel so cool. Like one girl on the metro, I had my headphones in and she was kind of like signaling and I took my AirPod out and she was like, your coat's so beautiful. And I'm like, I love you.
Thank you.
Is that the right reaction?
Are we friends now?
Do you want to be my best friend? But yeah, like those like small interactions like that. And I've talked about this a bunch of times, but even just with a dog, people talk to you more.
Yeah.
And so finding like your bravery of like talking to someone at Pilates or having like an animal, some kind of icebreaker that bridges that gap a little bit culturally, generationally, whatever it is. So I would love to talk a bit more about the impetus for your podcast. We talked about how you got here, some cultural adaptations. Let's talk about Pardon Our French.
Yes.
Well,
we started it, 2 years ago? And we have 3 seasons right now.
we're in the midst of season 3.
Yes.
Just like the White Lotus.
And it really is literally following the trajectory. And Quincy and I had this bar or like brasserie right around the corner. It's like in the middle of between our houses. And it was kind of our like central perk. And every, like you said, it was like a group chat, like, should we go to Café du Centre tonight? And one night we were there and we were like having a glass of wine and we were like, you know, like I've always wanted to do a podcast. And it was like, no way, so have I. And like, we just started talking about like,
Just kind of riffing.
Yeah.
You know?
I think we've both kind of we've talked about this before, but like trying to find a not so niche, if that makes sense. Like trying to talk about Paris on TikTok, but like in a more structured and more
in-depth,
consistent
I think.
way. So doing it like really full in-depth episodes.
Yeah, just I feel like there wasn't at the time like an outlet where there was a lot of deeper sharing about like what a life in Paris looks like, especially for, 20-somethings moving, expatriates, all this. Well, just French. But
a lot of it is really surface level.
Yeah, it's very surface level.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, here are like the places that I love to go in Paris. And that's great.
Yeah.
But I think that there was space, and that was sort of like the way that I would have wanted to share about my life in Paris was like, how it is on a day-to-day. Like, no, we're not always sitting under the Eiffel Tower with a baguette.
No.
And
quite the opposite.
Sometimes we are at a ball in Versailles. But we're also at work.
Are you guys going?
To the one summer, we couldn't get tickets in time.
We went to the one in December.
We gotta find tickets for you guys. I'm like, y'all are coming with me.
It just is like such a bucket list. I want to wear a poofy dress and dance. Like, have a whole wig and all. I want it all.
I want it all. You're going to. So one of my friends from New York visited last summer. She literally showed up and I was like, well, I already have this thing planned. And she's like, okay, no worries. And then someone had a ticket. Oh my so I am of the mind that like, you're just going to find a couple tickets.
They will happen.
They'll crop up.
And if not, we're for sure getting you tickets for next year.
Yeah, 100%.
I had so much fun last year. I am not like a stay up late girly. Like I'm trying so hard to be cool. But like, we stayed until they kicked us out at like 6 a.m.
Wow,
they like physically
that's
kicked us out of the laundry. Like they were like, go home. Like it's bedtime.
Wow.
So yeah, I had a good time last year. It was so much fun. And I think the tickets this year went on sale like 2 months earlier than they had gone on sale before. And I think that's what threw people off.
Maybe. So we just didn't get into the site.
Yeah. By the time we got in, it was
the
like
wait line and it was complet.
Oh, I hate that so much. Okay, so we're for sure going to have some kind of strategy for the next one. But honestly, people are going to be selling the closer. We'll talk about this off mic. I'm so sorry. But like for anyone listening, the Grand Bal Masqué de Versailles is like my personal heaven.
So we went to it was like a 20s themed.
Roaring 20s ball.
At Versailles.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like we got to be... They had like so much of the chateau open. I was not expecting that. I thought they were going to be like, you can be in this one room.
Yeah. That's what the Grand Ball is because like it's, a rave that starts at midnight and goes till 6. So they're like, no, you can't go in the hall of mirrors. Like, that's not for you, baby.
We don't want any of that.
Like, we don't have enough insurance for that. But the Roaring 20s ball sounds so
It was great.
I didn't know they did so many events. Like
I think they're doing more and more.
Okay.
It seems to me.
Especially with the popularity of the balls that are happening.
I was just shocked that they like let that happen though. So I'm like, Yeah,
like we have access to this.
Like,
Yeah, actually.
insane.
Oh my gosh.
So sometimes we do amazing things like that.
Yeah.
And it's so fun. And then sometimes we do go through depressive episodes. And
Yes.
Yeah.
hard times at work and
the month of February.
Yeah, literally. So we just kind of wanted to be able to sort of have a venue to talk about like all the different facets of Paris. What's dating like?
Yeah.
What's,
Yeah.
And I think, the political climate right now in the US, so many people are like, I just want to run away
Yeah.
and like go to Europe. And it's like, well, if you need like a really raw, like true version of what that looks like and like the, resources given to you ahead of time, you
Come
can
on
find
in.
that on our podcast.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think that's a really great way to prep people because as much as we personally all collectively feel like our lives are better here, it is still regular life.
Yes.
And I think that if you go in having the expectation that some stuff is not going to be easy breezy, beautiful cover girl, it makes it a little bit easier. Sort of like the way that we've talked about astrology, just knowing stuff is going to be chaotic.
Yeah.
In the way that like you read the forecast, like the weather forecast, right? Yeah. If I know it's going to be raining, I'm not going to wear like a tank top, like white dress outside. You know what I mean? With like no umbrella and sandals. Like you plan accordingly. Like you know it's going to be a bit of a challenge. Same thing with astrology. Like I know these energies are going to be a bit of a challenge moving to France.
Yes.
Like just knowing and having that visibility, that awareness ahead of time, I think is super, super helpful. Especially like you were saying for people who are like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And also I feel that like so deeply.
I think I fell for that trap. Like coming in, I was like, I have a French passport. Like I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like everything will be easy. And I was like thrown through a loop. I was like, oh, freaking hell. Like, this is not as easy as I thought. And my mom was going through it. Like she came with me, which was amazing to have her like, and I wasn't just alone because a lot of people do come just alone. And it's really hard. And so I think if I would have had that like preface of like, this is going to be difficult, like if nothing is going to happen overnight, like maybe I would have had a more like smooth transition.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like as much of a slap in the face.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that we both like, for me, no matter how hard it is on some days, it's like I have such an undying love for the city that keeps me going.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I haven't been outside the prefecture crying. Having them like, trying to like get me away from the building. They're like, we have to respect the perimeter and you're not here for like an appointment or whatever. And I'm just like, you guys, like, just let me in.
Let me just freaking cry for a second.
Literally. You have to learn the tricks of the trade. They say to you, oh, you need to go online and fill out this form. And I'm like, I've filled out this one. And this one, and this one. And like, you can't turn me away. Like learning some of those things or just expecting that things are going to be like that definitely would have helped me.
Yeah, totally. Would you say that that's like the most challenging thing? Like just the logistical,
admin.
governmental? Yeah.
Yeah. Like I didn't even start to do a lot of the admin stuff until a lot later when I realized that I was going to be staying.
Yeah.
Like I think I used a prepaid phone plan for like the first 2 years I lived here because I had heard how difficult it was to end a phone plan. Yeah. So I was like, I'm just going to never start one.
Oh, well, there you go.
and like prepay the card and whatever. So then eventually getting a real phone number or getting the carte vitale. They kept misspelling Massachusetts. Oh my God. And I was like, how is this
in their
my
defense,
problem?
same. Like,
They kept rejecting me or they're like, oh, on your birth certificate, there's a space between the Mac and Shane of your name. I'm like, yeah, that's how they show a capital letter. And then your passport, it's all together. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? And they say, oh, go get new documents. I was like, well,
what?
Why don't you just go get a new birth certificate?
Like, what?
Yeah, I can't be reborn, dude.
That's why they literally couldn't open a carte vitale, like a healthcare card for me for like 6 months.
Because of
that. And
you've got to
like shit like that, you just, and doing that over the phone.
And you know that the person reading it has an IQ above room temperature. Like they're not stumped by the space. Like,
And so there are things like that really are tough.
Yeah.
I could be reduced to tears by the phrase "ce n'est pas possible" at any moment.
Oh my God. One time someone said that to me and I thought it was a joke. And I was like, I laughed. I was like, like, pas possible. Yeah, that's funny.
Everything is possible.
And he was just like straight ass, like dead serious. The woman working next to him like laughed because she saw me laughing. And I was like, that's like the French thing, right? Like pas possible. It was like really possible. And he's like,
no. And I think like the trenches of admin situations prep you for like the general mindset here. Sometimes that is ce n'est pas possible.
Yeah.
No matter, like it could be at a grocery store or like, you're buying a newspaper. And it's like, you hear that phrase and you're just like, how?
Triggered. Immediately triggered. I realized that like pushing back a little bit earns you a bit more respect.
100%.
Yeah. like, I'm a very docile, like non-confrontational person. But I had been struggling with, so Uber Pet, right? Just as an example. You pay a little more because you're acknowledging that like maybe there will be some like dog hairs left behind or whatever. Not everyone likes dogs. So you order a specific car and you pay more for it so you can bring your dog somewhere. And this guy rolls up and he's like, this is not Uber Pet. I'm like, yeah, it freaking is. I'm like yelling at this guy in French, respectfully. But I'm like, you accepted an Uber Pet ride. I ordered this correctly. Like I've been waiting here for 15 minutes for a car. And once I like pushed back, he was like, oh, okay. And like got out of the car and like put my suitcase in and everything. And I was like, oh, thank God. But it was, I had to like actually push back. And I've never done that before living in this country.
Yeah. No, truly.
It's brought out like a bossy side. Yeah.
I love that.
Truly.
I need to work on that.
A lot of the time it's like people, not to say like, I don't know if lazy is the right word, but I feel like a lot of the time French people just don't want to do something. And so they, and like, same, but like.
Relatable.
Like you'll notice like it says the open time is 8 a.m. and they won't be open till 10. And it's just because they don't want to. And so, you do have to like stand up for yourself.
That respect though. I'm like, I also don't want to open at 8.
I feel like I really could have used, I just read the Let Them book by Mel Robbins.
Yeah.
I feel like I really could have used that in terms of just like digesting a lot of stuff that comes from the French. I could have just been like, let them frown at me all the time.
Yeah.
Let them be nasty.
Yeah.
And let me just rise above, you know,
vibe it out, do your thing. No, that's such a good point. I haven't read it yet. I've heard the theory and a lot of people are talking about Let Them right now.
Yeah.
Big on TikTok.
I have mixed thoughts, but yeah.
Yeah. What are your mixed thoughts?
I'm generally like supportive of the whole Let Them idea. I think her book develops really well in the first half, that idea and like how you can apply that and like focusing on how you can just like let everyone else have their reactions and have whatever's going on in their day. And you can take a step back and basically say, step 1, let them do that. And step 2, let me respond in the way that I, you know, can. The second half of the book is a little weird because she's like, well, how do you then like influence other people if
you're just letting people do whatever?
Yeah. If you're just, you know, kind of letting everyone do everything. And I didn't love that part of the book because the way she approached it, I felt was very kind of black and white of being like, if this person, she says basically like, let them keep doing what they're doing. And if they don't change or in the way that you want or whatever, say goodbye to that relationship.
Interesting. So there's not a lot of room for nuance.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just also didn't think it was very quote unquote, let them of her to be trying, like she has whole chapters about like how you can influence people.
Yeah.
And I just thought that wasn't very...
So it's almost contradictory.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks for saving me the extra chapters.
Yeah. So, I mean, as with all books like that, like take what's useful, leave the rest behind.
Totally.
And I definitely have been using Let Them.
Okay.
It was great.
Within your like own assimilation journey.
Yeah. So it's been great. But, you know.
How long would you say it took you to like adapt culturally? You've been here for 6 years now.
Ooh.
Like it's still a journey,
happening.
baby.
Yeah, it's really still happening. I would say, I mean, probably I had a little bit of a head start as well because I lived in France for a year in high school, not in Paris, but in Rennes. And I lived with a French host family and got sort of like that back side of French culture that I wouldn't have necessarily gotten access to if I had just shown up here. And so that was really nice.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, why I felt safe to stay when COVID happened.
Feels more familiar.
Yeah. I was in a program of 72 kids at my college and 70 people left the country when COVID happened.
Whoa.
It was mandated by the school to leave. I just did not. I was like,
you're like, oh, no, thanks.
No. So I think that though, like allowed me to already know the country enough and like to feel safe here.
Yeah.
And so in some ways I felt kind of like that right away when I moved to Paris because I was like, okay, I feel like I'm finally coming home to like what has always been meant for me.
I love that.
So,
yeah. I remember something from one of your earlier episodes that you realized like you knew you could be this happy like in a place. And I resonated so much with that. Like I didn't know I could be this happy.
I had never experienced something like that. And then I got all, you know, got all YOLO and was like, you just have to spend the rest of your life chasing that because like, what's the point if
Yeah. What's the point of not feeling that forever? Yeah. It's so cool.
So that's kind of that was after I lived in Rennes, and I was like, yeah, I will be going back for my junior year of college.
Amazing.
And left.
Yeah. You've been drawn here since you were a wee one.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what it was that like drew me to Paris, like to be obsessed with Paris in the first place, whether it was like the Madeleine books or like,
oh my gosh. Yeah.
anything.
Totally.
But
I feel that
it's
deeply
just
as
been
well.
my dream. Yeah.
And then you get here and it's not just a dream, right? Like it's real. And I feel like all of us had the opposite of what is that like Japanese syndrome thing? Like Paris syndrome,
yes.
whatever, where they're just
like
so
sadness.
disappointed by
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like not funny, but it's a little funny.
I know.
Like,
yeah. You're like, whoa.
Yeah. They're like, Paris actually sucks. Like,
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine feeling that. I got here and I'm like, this is the best place ever.
I frequently like on walks look up and I'm like, I live here. Like everywhere I am is beautiful.
Yes.
Like
I was taking videos on Friday night because I saw the Eiffel Tower sparkling, and I was just like standing there for like 5 minutes being like, oh my God, it's so amazing.
It's so good. It doesn't get old.
It does. It never gets old.
Thank you for confirming. Yeah. Down the line, like does not get old.
anytime I see her, I'm like, oh,
beauty, tear in the eye. I see it every day. Like I live over that way.
Yeah.
Like I see it all the time.
I work right next to there, and I'm just like,
it's still beautiful every single time. And you realize like people save up their whole lives to get one look at that.
Yeah.
And you get the privilege of seeing it every day. That's insane.
I think
Incredible.
living here has like really helped also just feeling like gratitude frequently.
Yeah. I
like
love
even
that.
on hard days, I find something to be grateful for. Like even today, it's like, okay, I didn't have like an amazing last night of sleep, but like the sun's out and like the way that it's reflecting off of the buildings across the way and like the street that I live on. Like I couldn't ask for more. Like
exactly.
I love this a lot more than living in my suburb in California.
I think that's something also that a lot of expatriates share, or immigrants. I consider myself more of an immigrant now.
For sure.
But like there's the same mindset of like the gratitude, the appreciation, like just the desire, the such strong desire to be here.
Yes, totally. It's almost like, I don't know if this is a good comparison, but people who adopt kids, they want a kid so freaking bad. They go through so many hoops to like get a child. It's not like they accidentally had a kid or like, oops, I guess we're going to keep it. They want, and it's not to say that like people who have biological children don't want their kids. But you know what I'm saying? It's like someone who has to go like the extra mile versus being born here.
Yes.
And
100%.
There's that deep like reverence, appreciation. And I think that also just brought something up for me. Maybe you guys will have thoughts on this. I think we think about, in general, not just us three, but people in general, think about moving abroad as like this fun, easy breezy thing versus like, it's actually immigration. Like you just brought this up, like you consider yourself an immigrant because you are, but you like, it's almost detached with the terms moving abroad and expat, right? It doesn't account for the immigration experience, which is everything that we're talking about in terms of like cultural differences, logistical differences, the préfecture, like languages, all those things are part of immigrating.
Yes.
You don't think about that. You're like, I'm going to move to Paris. Like, I'm going on an immigration journey.
Like, you think it's like the equivalent of studying abroad. And it's like, no.
I literally was like, oh, grown up study abroad. Cool.
And you do go through so many phases. Like when I got here, I was like, okay, the goal is assimilation. I'm going to try to be the least American as I can possibly be. And it's taken time for me to warm back up to some of those sides of myself where I'm like, okay, I'm not French. I do love it here and I live here and I plan to live here the rest of my life, but I'm also me.
Yes.
And I'm going to be me in this place.
That's a very special feeling.
You know,
that's a gift to be very good with yourself to where you're not trying to fake anything or change into a certain mold. I think, you know, in part assimilating is nice because like you're adopting parts of the culture that you chose to be a part of, right? But
it's like the first step of like being respectful to the place that you're at.
Exactly. The reverence, the humility, like all those things. And we actively chose this culture. So it's like, all right, like play a part in it, right? But then also not losing sight of who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah. We joked about this earlier, but I bought a lot of black clothing when I moved here. Did not have black coming from Southern California. And for a while, really, really tried to dress like as Parisian as possible. And then I was like, I miss my colors. I miss like being, if you were seeing us right now, you would see that on the other side of Quincy and Justine, there's a lot of pink happening. But that part is just, I think, part of my DNA. And like, once I realized that, I'm like, okay, like, I don't care if someone doesn't think I'm French today. Like, whatever. But enough people still think something because people ask me for directions in French all the time. So I'm like,
yes.
That's a huge compliment.
Like, I'm confident in this world.
yeah, I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible. Like, I was walking Stella, we were going toward the metro, and this woman stopped me and asked me how to get to like Gare de Lyon. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God, me? Yeah. It's like when in the Barbie movie when Ken's like, someone asked me for the time.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
That was me in the metro station.
That is like the most accurate description of what that feels like.
And then people ask me, and I'm extremely directionally challenged. So if I'm like not in my own neighborhood, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I live here.
Oh my God, literally same. But I was so honored that I was like, let me get out my map for you.
Yeah.
I was like, I have actually no idea. I do not know which way is east or west.
Yeah. It is interesting though, because Paris, unlike any city that I've lived in, like I know Paris better than I know Boston, where I grew up. I know Paris better than New York. I lived there for 2 years. And it's, I think also just like you do so much walking here.
Yes.
Yeah.
The first year I moved here, there was a 2-month-long metro strike.
Yeah.
Like literally no metros ran. And so I had to walk everywhere. Yeah. So on brand. And I got like Achilles tendonitis, but it's fine.
Oh my God.
But it really helped me because I was like, okay, I knew spots in Paris, but I didn't really understand how they all connected.
Yeah.
And that very quickly oriented me. I can get myself pretty much anywhere now.
That's amazing. That like neurological topography where it all the spots start to connect
which
to
like
one another.
For someone who is directionally challenged, that's like, I'm very impressed.
Huge
with
flex.
myself.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'm very impressed. I can't even walk down the street without checking a map. Like,
was it this turn or?
Yeah. Some people do really struggle with Paris because it's not like
a grid.
Yeah, it's not a grid.
Yeah.
Especially
It's a snail.
American.
It's a snail. I actually feel like it's easier that way. I'm like, this makes more sense to my brain.
Yeah. You're supposed to be here.
Yeah. Truly.
Okay. So far, the sort of logistical immigration challenges, some directional challenges. And I know that both of you have talked about some funny dating challenges in terms of being here. Do you want to switch gears into dating chaos?
We were literally talking about this last night because I was like, maybe I should go on Love is Blind, but if they had it in Paris and only with Americans, because I've only dated French guys since I moved here and it just has not worked out for me. I think there are cultural differences that are like very deep rooted.
Yeah, but also if you like look back to the guys you've dated, it's more than the cultural differences.
Yeah. I usually have to take like a 4 to 5 month recoup period after any dating experience because I'm just like so shocked by the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
I think one of my most memorable was probably, what was this, last June?
2 years
2 years ago. Yes. Still feels pretty salient.
Still feels fresh. Too soon.
Yeah. It started out all very like magical and Parisian, motorcycle rides down the Seine.
Been there.
It's just let's go to Radio France for taping and like all this cool stuff.
I'll delay my train and you can come have a coffee with me at Le Train Bleu.
Oh.
Yeah. Like kind of crazy stuff. And then we started dating very quickly, as the French do. And it was really nice for a little bit. And I eventually learned Justine and Jean and I were going to this white party at the Château de Chantilly, which is
highly recommend.
They do it every year.
So fun.
Oh, yeah.
Highly recommend.
So down.
The tickets are supposed to come out soon.
Okay.
It says in April.
Okay.
That's
like tomorrow-ish.
Tomorrow-ish, yeah.
Monday.
I've been like on that. I doubt it'll be April 1st. But, and so I invited him along because I was like, okay, this is the next step. It's like meet the friends and whatever. And that
double date.
Yeah, double date. Super exciting. And just like to be vetted by them because, I like to get a read.
The approval matters,
Yeah. And that day I actually found out.
Like right before we left.
Right before we left. We were all going to drive out together, blah, blah, blah. I found out that he was, not 34 as he had said on his dating app and everything.
Okay.
And confirmed in person as well.
Okay.
He was actually 42.
Okay.
Yeah.
Meaning that instead of a 9-year age gap, it was actually a 17-year age gap.
Yep.
Which was a shock.
I'm really reining in my response right now.
And so
I didn't really have weird about telling you too.
Yeah, I think essentially the way that I found out was because like I think I might have like had his wallet or something and I wanted to look at his driver's license and he like wouldn't let me.
Oh,
and I was like
you're like, let me see your photo.
Yeah. And I was like, actually, hold on now. Why are you being weird about this?
Yeah. Why was he being weird about this?
Well, I find out later that apparently he purposely dates, he said, girls who are between 20, and he used the word girls, not women, between the age of 24 and 30 because, quote, he wants kids, but not yet. I was like, you are 42.
Yeah.
Wild. So I find this out, and then I'm supposed to like leave in the next 5 minutes. So we get in the car.
Oh no.
I come over to their house. We all get in the car. We're like making small talk. And I think the boys go get the tickets like when we got there or something.
yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, Justine, he's 42. I was like, what do I do? I was like,
Whoa.
this is insane.
Yeah.
And
The drama did not stop there that day.
yeah, it was like this whole thing because, you know, we had kind of just made things exclusive. And the weekend or 2 weekends before, Justine and Joe and I had been in the south of France. I really am their third wheel. TW. Yeah, my nickname is now TW. And we had been at this dinner, and this random guy was like kind of flirting with everybody.
With all of us, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
Shoot your shot, I guess.
yeah, so that had come back up at the
We were like
picnic,
joking that it was like he was trying to have like a 3-4-some situation.
and just like joking about it. And this guy that I was dating like kind of flipped out,
Oh.
and I was like,
I mean, not kind of.
yeah,
Fully?
he fully flipped out.
He literally just left. Like he got up and walked away.
Yeah,
Way.
And mind you, before they were exclusive, he told her like that he had been seeing other people.
yeah,
This guy's unstable.
Yeah.
Psycho.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
yeah. So I was like, okay, well, I have to go deal with this tantrum now. Be right back.
For sure.
Went over to him, and I was like, what's wrong?
Yeah.
You know, like the whole story. And he's like, well, you're a liar. You know, you never told me about this. I was like,
It's
that
not
a guy
deep.
like tried to hit on me.
Yeah.
And he's like, you make it sound like it happens all the time. And I was like, well,
Yeah. Have you seen me?
I was like, I don't want to rub it in here,
Yeah.
but like, it's not a big,
happens.
it's not a big
I'm a girl.
deal.
I get hit on every
And I
15
was
seconds.
Like,
Like,
yeah. And I basically said to him, I was like, it made me uncomfortable. And I actually left after that because it was not something that I want. Like,
yeah, you weren't soliciting.
like what? And then he just was not getting it. And he kept being like, you're a liar. You're telling me half truths. And I was like,
Speaking of half truths, let's talk about
literally the irony was just wild to me.
Yeah.
And so I, at that point, was looking at the situation from the outside, and he was kind of like yelling at me
Oof.
in public.
Yeah, I've been there.
And I was like,
icky.
Very.
Yeah.
this is not
This is not past the,
Not for me.
the vibe check.
And so I said to him, you know, this happened also, like, not only is this not an issue, but this also happened before we were exclusive. I don't need to justify anything to you. And I basically said, you stay here. When you're good and ready, you can come rejoin the group. And I left.
Yeah.
And I
That's
came
like
back
what
over
you
to you
tell a
guys.
kindergartner.
Yeah,
You're
truly.
going to sit outside, and when
Yeah.
you're ready to rejoin the class, you can come back in.
Literally saying that to a 42-year-old child.
Yeah. The
And-
problem is not the age, it's the man.
Exactly. And suddenly, like, when that starts happening, then that night he's like, well, I have a list of things that I want to talk to you about.
What?
And I was like, well, what's on it? And he was like, I'm not going to tell you. And I was like,
Isn't that the point?
so I was like, okay, whatever.
Okay.
And then, you know, he goes home the next day, and then I get a text, and he's like, oh, can we talk? And we start a FaceTime, whatever. And he starts listing out all these things that he has deemed are wrong with me.
No fucking way.
On top of that list, I don't own my own furniture, so I don't have my life together.
What?
I was
At
like,
24 years old.
and I was like, my dude.
Are you in a furnished apartment?
Yes.
Yeah, what?
I was like, I'm 24. I am new to the country relatively.
Yeah.
I am still a student.
Yeah.
And like, this is insane.
Yeah.
And I basically was like, first of all, and he called my apartment as well a bazaar,
yeah, like meth.
What?
like all this stuff. And I was like, well, you know what does take like having your life together and perseverance? Moving to France,
Yeah.
dealing with all this
What?
shit, insane. And he basically, despite the fact that I always give the like pre-warning to if I go out with a guy who's like, I mean, I thought he was 34, 42, but it's like, I say that I'm not like a housewife type. I'm going to be working. I'm going to be, I'm not a cook or cleaner type.
Yeah.
And so he basically started to say like all the other women that I know who are in relationships, like, I think he like honestly was disappointed by the like the picnic that I brought because it wasn't as well put together.
What?
The heck?
You know, things like that. And I was like, dude, wild.
You're looking
If
for
this
a
guy wasn't
driveway.
like actually insane
Yeah.
and was like, okay, I lied about my age. Like, I know it's a big gap, but
Yeah.
whatever. Like, I feel like there could be ways to get
Yes.
around. Like, people date with big age gaps, but
Yeah.
like, if there's enough of like emotional commonality, it sounds like this guy might have been like biologically 42, but emotionally like 14.
Yes.
Literally. And he just kept going down this list. And I was like, so this is just not, no.
No.
It's like, what are you trying to tell me this and like continue dating? Like,
Yeah, but that's the thing. What is the purpose? Like, are you trying to tell me things that like you want to work on together, or are you just trying to change me? In which
Yeah.
case, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, literally
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah.
And I said to him also, like, I just having the fact that you made a list to me is very
Geller.
indicative of like your attitude towards me, towards women in general.
Yeah.
Like, I would never make a list. This is what I said to him. I would never make a list about someone that I was dating, about things I didn't like about them. But if I did, atop that list might be that you can't make a woman come. And then I hung up the phone. And I stayed on long enough to watch his face drop. And then I hung up and we never spoke again.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you. That's like ovation. Yeah. That's incredible.
I was like, I just gotta leave that there and
like bow down to you.
yeah.
That's exceptional. Well, that's one way to end it.
That was
Yeah.
Yeah. You've had that one does take the cake for.
That one takes,
It takes
the
the
cake. I
cake,
can't
yeah.
tell if that's like a cultural thing. Like,
Yeah.
sounds like a person. Yeah,
personal.
It's a very personal and specific circumstance.
yeah. So I joke now that I'm like, oh, I got broken up with because I didn't own my own furniture.
And well, and like it was there were like signs that he was really trying to change you from the moment you guys
Yeah.
started dating.
Yeah.
Like he had went to your apartment and like changed the whole entire arrangement of her living room because he was like, why would you arrange it this way?
Yeah.
Like really freaking
Yeah.
weird.
He doesn't need a girlfriend. He needs a therapist.
Yeah.
And I
Like,
just think that he really did not like, I think he didn't like that I didn't play into his whole tantrum the night before. Like I didn't go after him being like, I'm so sorry. Like,
Well, that's
this
why he
is
goes for younger girls.
Like, blah,
yeah,
blah, blah.
they're more
And
moldable.
the fact that I was like, I'm not here to justify myself to you, like, fix whatever's going on here and come back, like, whatever. I think he really did not like that. And he was like, okay, I'm not going to be able to essentially, like, push her around and,
shape
like,
her
you
like
know.
Play-Doh. Yeah. I think I learned something from a therapist once, and I can't remember the name. It's not object permanence, but it's sort of like narcissists in general, and some people have this tendency.
Weaponized
just like-
ignorance,
well,
maybe?
that too. But it's like, okay, you can look at this like glass of water in front of you, right? And like you can look at it and know how it's going to feel in your hand. You know what the water is going to taste and feel like in your mouth, like when you drink it, because that doesn't really change. It's an inanimate object, right? If you look at people that way, when they react or behave in ways that are disparate from what your view is of them, like this guy saw you through this box, right?
Yeah.
He saw you like the glass of water. And when you did things that didn't correspond with what the glass of water should be, he freaked out. He lost his mind.
Yeah.
So it is sort of like a narcissistic tendency for you to fit into a specific box. He doesn't see you as a person. He sees you filling a specific role the way this glass of water hydrates me.
Exactly. And I felt that with a lot of guys that I've dated. And it's too bad because I think that, you know, there has been a lack of appreciation for just like me being me.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when I'm me, suddenly I'm not what they want.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they're not what you want
know.
either.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
if they're not appreciating
Yeah.
everything you bring to the table, you don't want that either.
Yeah.
They're definitely misreading who you are as a person before
Yeah.
reaching out
The
to
last
you.
guy that I dated, he like essentially after seeing each other for a while and like having dates and stuff, I brought up a conversation, like kind of like a DTR. And I was like, so what?
What are we?
What's going on here? You know? And he basically said that he wanted to keep seeing other people but he would understand if I wanted to end things, whatever. So take a couple days. He's like, well, why didn't you reach out to me? I was like, why didn't you reach out to me?
Yeah.
And then I basically said, like, yeah, I don't want to continue things, like, whatever. And suddenly he flips and goes,
Oh.
well, I definitely made the right decision because now you're not smiling and nice. You're cold and distant. And I was like, whoa, okay.
Right.
So, you know, you can't accept a person on all facets and like a person who's not going to come crawling after you
Yeah.
for the bare minimum.
Yeah, they don't realize the bar's in hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you've dodged many bullets.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm like, moving target here. Yeah. Doing my best.
We gotta get you like a bulletproof vest and like a helmet so you can just like charge through and like get to the other side.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, okay, maybe I need to not continue on dating the French. I think there might be too many cultural differences. Or maybe I've just come across
I
really
think you've come across shitty men.
Yeah, like just objectively, like from the outside, I haven't been in these relationships or like observing them in real time, but it sounds more like individual dudes.
Yeah.
And from an astrologer POV, especially now during Venus retrograde, when relational things do come up to the surface, ask yourself, like from each of those circumstances, what is the thing I'm supposed to take away from this? And how is that thing helping me grow? Like, how am I supposed to level up? Sort of like, one of them might be your final boss, right? Like the video game. You can't get to the next level until you fully conquer whatever that lesson is.
Yeah.
So if you can look at themes, especially right now when like the astrological energy is giving you the resources to review and use it as fuel to do something different or to feel different or to detach from something, this is the like ripest moment for you to go back and review those things and just be like, all right, what do I want to feel? Like, how do I want to feel differently? What do I want to do differently? What is coming up and why? What is this triggering and why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very on point. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm going to be taking all of that into consideration if I ever decide to dive back in.
If I ever date a man ever again.
Yeah, literally.
Been their sister.
Yeah.
So we through a very long, oh no, thank you period as well.
Yeah. But
And
it's good though, because each one of them has taught me more and more of like how to set my own boundaries and say, oh no, this is not for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we talked about this on our episode on your podcast, but the feeling of euphoria of springtime after going through such a shitty winter, I have a feeling that that's going to be the euphoria when you finally find a nice French man.
Yeah. I'd like to believe.
Yeah.
Yes. And I do. I try to be, I remain open and stuff. I'm just not actively putting a lot of energy towards dating.
That's good though. You're going to let good things come to you.
Yeah.
Like detached from outcome, good with yourself, ready for receiving something better.
Indeed.
I love this. we're on the up and up.
We are. I mean, it cannot go, no. It
cannot get
be worse than Furniture Man. So.
We'll always judge you for that furniture.
I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's a furnished apartment. I don't like the couch either, you know?
Yeah, but I didn't choose this.
Yeah. But I am 24, so.
You're like, give me some freaking slack.
Yeah.
I didn't come from this country. And then, Justine, I know you have some wacky stories. Do you want to share any?
Yeah, well, my wackiest probably just in how insane it was is my, do we even call it a relationship? I don't know.
For sure.
Situationship that happened right before moving to Paris. It was like literally beginning of COVID, living in California and like making the decision of moving to Paris. And TikTok was like just popping off, you know, like we were all on it. We all remember those trending
early days.
sounds.
Yeah.
And
I remember what life was like before that.
Truly.
We only had Instagram.
There's life like AT, like after TikTok and like BT before TikTok.
Honestly.
The before times.
Insane. And I like fell upon this account of a French American and I resonated very deeply with it because I was like, oh my gosh, like this person sees me. Like they experience everything I experience. And I've never had the like outlet to talk about this with anybody else. And I think I was watching a live and I like messaged on the live and I got a DM after saying like, do I know you? And I was like, do you want to?
Smooth.
And I wasn't initially like going at it from like a dating perspective. I was just really wanting to connect with someone who was French American, had a similar experience.
For sure.
And it's funny because like it came full circle, like I'll get there, but he from the very beginning made me feel super seen and like a priority. And I had just gone out of a very like narcissistic relationship where I was in this thing for 3 years and it was like hell. And I just didn't see it at that time. And I was like, oh my gosh, this might be like something really exciting. And like, if anything, I'm learning like how I want to be and should be treated in relationship. So we started like seeing each other and he was living in California at the time. I was living in SoCal. He was living up north with his parents because of COVID. And I was frequently doing road trips. So every time I'd go up north, we would see each other and we would like calling every single day. And one day he's like, so bomb drop, like I'm moving to Paris. And I was like, what? Because like my side projects right now have been trying to move to Paris and I've applied to all these master's programs. And he's like, okay, well, I just got the call. Like I'm going to be moving in October. And at this point it's September. So very soon we like started talking in June and like September came around. And he moves, and he was like, well, if you're going to move to Paris, like, do you want to come with me? And I was like, what do you mean come with you? And he's like, well, just come live with me for a little while and like, see what it's like and visit your school and like, stay with me, you know? And I was like, okay, like, this is like the most spontaneous thing I've ever done. Like literally buying a trip in the midst of COVID.
Yeah.
Just to stay with this guy. Like that's so out of character. Like I've never done that in my life. And so I did it. He moves in to his apartment. It was like a 13-meter square studio. So tiny.
That's really small.
Yeah. Like the bathroom door was a curtain. Like it was just very intimate quarters.
Yeah.
And the first like few weeks were like wonderful. Like we were having a really great time, you know, visiting Paris and exploring together. And then I started noticing like that I'm feeling kind of off with like his just interactions with me. Like I was like, something's wrong. And I tried to like ask him about it. And he'd get really, really defensive. Like, what are you talking about? Like nothing's wrong. Like I'm just busy with school.
What?
And I was like, okay.
But you knew the vibe was off.
Yeah, I immediately knew something was off. And so I just kind of physically retracted. And he was meeting other friends, of course, like moving into a new city, and we'd all hang out together. And notably this one other person who is bigger in France. She like won France's Got Talent, and like we'd go out to dinner with her, like all three of us, and be at his place and whatever. And at the time, he also had this other, like a best friend from back home who I knew about like from the beginning of us like seeing each other. And he would call her like every single day. I knew her. We were all friends on Instagram. Like it was just like she's
a homie.
Yeah, all connected. Well, when we left, I like things were off. The last night I was there, we hung out with the one person who won France's Got Talent. And it was really fun, but I could feel like something was off with him. And so we had like said, you know, let's just wait until you get here for like anything else. Like things are off. But like not anything concrete. And while I'm away, he like sent me a birthday gift, and it was like from your boy in Paris. And I was like, okay, like, this is either like a mind fuck, because it was like
calling yourself boy in Paris.
Yeah, it was just like heavy retraction of like just physically and like emotionally, and then like a huge jump in, and I just couldn't read it. I was like really confused.
Who wouldn't be?
Yeah. And at that point, like I was like starting to talk to other people, because I was like, I don't think this is going to be a thing.
Yeah.
And when I got to Paris, I had left some things at his house because I had bought coats when I was there, and I never owned a coat in my life in California. So I was like, I don't need to bring this with me. Let me just leave it here. And he was being super avoidant and like trying to see me. And we hung out with this other person, that like the last person we hung out with, one night at his place. And he gets super, super drunk and like starts saying, like just kind of being like not careful with what he's saying, which then makes us
saucy and messy.
Yeah.
Messy.
And like, mind you, when I got there, I had gotten there before the other girl, and he like changed in front of me. Like, you know, like it was normal. Like when we were living together, like I was like, okay, like what's going on? Like, I don't know what you want. I don't know what you're putting out there, but I feel like it's messy. And we both, the girl and I, see when he's like, he puts his phone down, he has a screensaver of this other girl. And I was like, what the heck?
One that is not the two of you.
No. Nor like a person that I've known, like I knew of. And I like, I recognized her. Yeah. So apparently it was someone that he was at school with. Okay. And we both leave the apartment, like the girl and I, and we're like, so like, how do you know this person? Like, what was your origin story together? And I was like, oh yeah, well, like we were dating, and like, that's when I met you. We were like living together, whatever. And she was like, no fucking way. Like him and I have been like pretty much dating, like not fully there, but like talking stages. When we were all hanging out, like they would kiss like behind my back and like,
what?
Like
crazy.
And so we confront him. He tries to tell both of us like the other is crazy. And we're like, you're such an idiot. We're together right now. Like you can't say that because
no, not that gaslighting.
Just heavy gaslighting. And so it ends there. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Like literally just a dick. Like a couple months later, I happened to run into this best friend of his who had apparently moved to the south of France during all of this. And we had like, we're like, oh my God, like what, like, how are you? Like, are you still in contact with so-and-so? And I was like, oh, hell no. Like he was fully cheating.
Yeah.
And she was like, what do you mean cheating? And I was like, well, yeah, like he was seeing this other person, like while we were seeing each other. And she was like, you guys were seeing each other?
No.
We had been in a relationship for 1 year.
No.
And I was like, what is this guy
How
doing?
many girls was he dating at the same time?
I have no clue. Probably more than just us is my guess.
Oh my gosh.
Funny thing is now, because this other girl and I, the original like French superstar, and I are trauma bonded. So we'll like keep in touch with some things. And she sent me that he has now a podcast. And the screenshot of the girl on his phone is his now wife. Whom they're waiting to have a baby together. And the podcast episode they had like, I don't know, they like released a couple of weeks ago was on exes. And I was like, of course I'm going to listen to this.
Oh my gosh.
And he does fully admit that in every single relationship he has cheated because he feels like he wants something else and he doesn't know how to break up with someone. And so he kind of like makes himself the villain to make everybody hate him or like, you know, break up with him.
I mean, that's some good self-awareness at least.
Yeah.
But oh my
And
God.
it's just like he has this podcast with his wife. So like she obviously knew about all of this.
He entered willingly and knowingly.
Like, damn.
Oh man.
It was just so wild. And so like starting out a Paris journey this way, where I was just like, I don't know anyone. This is one person I know who I like really connected with because we're both French American. Well, yeah, that kind of sucked because I was like, and thankfully, like the other girl was so sweet. She's like, you came here, like you don't have anyone, like you can come over whenever. We'll have raclette parties.
Girls are amazing.
Like, yeah, honestly, through
like
this
the other woman on him.
Yeah.
Through the entire experience, like it was very clear to me that just like women are insanely supportive and there for you.
It runs deep.
It really does. Like we don't know each other, but we just got like basically
Bonded for life.
Yeah.
It's crazy that your first French boyfriend was like 4 other people's French boyfriend as well.
I know.
Like, damn.
Talk about stereotypes.
No, okay, maybe that's a cultural thing.
Yeah, could be. Yeah. So that was wild.
2 very juicy stories, you guys. You like did not show up empty-handed to the podcast.
We've gone through it.
You've really been through it.
Yeah.
But I love that you take all these experiences and you sort of like alchemize them into like very sunny side experiences as well. Like you extract the joy from it. You learn from the bullshit.
Standing up for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Connecting to other girls.
And that's why I love your podcast too.
We love yours too. So thank you for having
Very
us.
mutual feeling. So just if people aren't clicking into the links that I'm leaving them in the show notes, where can everyone find you guys? Socials, podcasts, etc.
Yes. On Instagram, we are POF_podcast.
Yes.
And you can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, kind of all
streaming
places.
platforms. Yeah.
Everywhere podcasts are played.
Pardon our French.
Pardon our French.
Yay. Thank you girls so much.
Thanks for having us.
Aren't they so cute? I love them. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I hope you loved hearing about life in Paris from Justine and Quincy. I hope you learned some do's and don'ts about dating and maybe feel inspired to download TikTok if you haven't already. Maybe you're even considering moving abroad. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review, share with a friend, and subscribe to the podcast for all the latest updates. If you want more expat stories of people moving to Paris, some more POVs, check out episodes 31, 59, 60, 67, and 72. And if you want some different content to mix it up, you can get astrology, Paris, and fragrance and beauty updates on Substack, Dominique en Rose. There's also TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, obviously, all of which are linked in the episode description just for you. Whatever format you like, we've got it. I am so grateful that you're here and that you're part of our community. I hope you're fine after this Buck Wild month, and I will see you here for the next episode. Gros bisous. Je vous aime. À bientôt. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of This Is Fine. I've been your host, Dominique Michelle Astorino. We're based in San Diego, recording in studio at DLI Productions in Pacific Beach, and remotely in Paris with Emmy Award-winning sound designer Dan De La Isla. This is a comedy and advice podcast, but for legal reasons, this entire podcast is a joke and none of it is medical advice. To download the transcript or learn more, visit thisisfinepodcast.com.